Welcome to Ad Age Studio 30 Live. I'm John Dioso, the editor of Ad Age Studio 30. Today we're going to discuss the new realities of retail, how to adapt for the future with analytics. Carter's is the leading brand for babies and children's clothing in America, with a history stretching back over 150 years. The market and landscape is evolving, and retail in particular has been facing challenges in recent years, and that was before a world-changing pandemic. Joining me today to discuss how Carter's is using analytics to make better business decisions and future-proof for success, and what best practices all brands should keep in mind in order to adapt to ever-changing consumer behaviors are Jennifer Lee Harrison, Vice President of Demand Generation at Carter's Inc., and Mike Menke, Senior Vice President of Analytic Partners.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi,
how are you?
Thanks for being here.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good. Hey, Mike. Looking forward to a great conversation today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, and welcome everybody for joining us. Please drop us a note and tell us where you are in the world so we can give you a shout out later. But before we get to the discussion, Carter's new brand campaign, Made for This, celebrates how parents rise to all the challenges, fears, and doubts that inevitably surface in the earliest days with a newborn. Here's the first spot in that campaign, Voicemail for Mom.
It's your mom.
I'll call her back.
Hi, Lauren. It's Mom. I just got home, but I wanted to thank you and Matt again for a wonderful weekend. Meeting Jack was a dream come true. I know last night was a late one, but Lauren, it will get easier. You're doing better than you know. That little boy's eyes light up when you walk into the room, and that's what really matters. Just remember to be patient with Jack and yourself. You know you used to hate baths just like him. Anyways, just wanted to call and say, I love you.
All right, Jennifer, there it is in a nutshell, the last 2 years of our lives.
Yeah.
Basically.
Can you believe it?
I know, I really can't. So just give us just a little overview. How has the COVID disruption impacted Carter's business?
You know, what we had to take a step back when all of this happened, none of us could have predicted that we would have been 2 years into a pandemic. But when it all happened, we decided, let's take this opportunity to course correct some of, I would say, the challenges that many retailers face. And that is becoming so promotionally heavy, where it's all about a discount of sale and just promoting all of the different prices. What we've all learned is that someone can always beat you in a price war, some retailer. And so a lot of retailers fell into that trap many years ago. And we took a risk and decided to say, as a company, as a brand, we want to be able to provide our customers with great price, great quality of product, but not be so reliant that the only way that our customers shop us is if it is on sale. So we know that we are, the market leader in this business. And so we took this risk during the pandemic, and it actually has proven that if we are more methodical about our pricing strategy, if we offer our customer the right products, that they will still shop us, and we don't have to be so reliant on a markdown type of strategy.
How was, Ad Age just released its massive year in review package, and some of the biggest stories have to do with how the pandemic and everything that happened after that impacted the business community. Supply chain is a big deal. It's one of the biggest stories of the year. Inflation, so price costs, availability of products. Can you just give us a little bit about how that has impacted Carter's and how it's impacted your business going forward, and especially in this holiday season?
Yeah, well, if anyone knows me, I always say that the fourth quarter is it is retail Super Bowl. And this is where you really have to, I would say, be methodical and strategic. And we were hit against things that we did not expect. Supply chain challenges. I mean, we've had to fly product in, constantly shifting our creative and pricing strategies on the fly, having our teams having to revamp their sales plans and all of those things because of the supply chain challenges. And this is just not Carter's. This is all retailers. I mean, you see it all over the news. We also, we're being impacted by customers are expecting more from retailers today than they ever have. And when I say that, I mean by services. They want to make sure that you have your product available to them. They want to also ensure that you have curbside pickup, but they want it easy and seamless. They want to be able to get their products in a shorter amount of time. So this placed a lot of pressure on Carter's and other retailers that we weren't expecting. But what we've done is that because we have the power of such a strong brand, we were able to navigate through that, getting our customers their products on time, being able to shift gears on the fly. So this has just taught us to be more nimble and more agile than we ever have.
That's great. And obviously what we want to get to in the course of this conversation is how analytics have helped you do that. Before we bring in Mike to talk a little bit about the partnership that you have with Analytic Partners, just give us a little bit of a background of how you used to measure business performance before you started partnering with them.
Yeah, so we had an MTA model. We've also used different analytic, like Adobe measurements and different things of that nature. But what we know is that a lot of those measurements outside of MTA was actually just showing us last click results. And what we all know is that channels in the ecosystem play multiple different parts of the performance. And so what partnering with Mike and team at Analytic Partners has done for us, it has allowed us to take a much higher level up to understand how does our paid media channels drive new customers, existing customers? What channels do create these performances? What channels drive store versus e-com? So that was very important to me when walking through the door. And we've seen great results from adding a MMM, a part of our performance overview and being able to analyze how well we are performing.
And, there was recent news that Carter's, along with a lot of other leading clothing brands, have recently decided to pull or not have their products be in discounted stores. Did that come from this type of analytic analysis?
Yeah, what we realize is that we want to get credit for our product, right? And so when you're constantly pushing your products into those stores, it creates an illusion to customers that the quality of your product is not as high, which is not true. And so, but we also know that, outlets like outlet centers are still very important part of the customer's journey. So what we want to leverage more is our own storefronts in these outlet centers versus pushing them out to third-party retailers to sell our products.
And that definitely came through from the data. The data kind of showed this is the smart way to go.
We have realized that technology is going nowhere. So we have to advance our technology capabilities and we need to analyze the performance. So in order to do that, we have become really customer obsessed, but also analytics obsessed, really wanting to understand what are the different levers that we have to pull in order to drive the right business result.
Got it. And technology isn't going anywhere, and neither is Mike Menkes. Mike, thank you for being patient. Well, we had our little one-on-one event, and I'd like to bring you into the conversation. Can you just tell us a little bit about the partnership between AP and Carter's, and explain the type of analytics that you guys are running? What are the updates, and maybe give us a little bit of the insights that you were able to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carter's came to us and they were really looking to better understand what was driving their business. So like many of our other engagements with clients, we really take a comprehensive approach to measurement and understanding business performance. So we leverage what we call commercial mix analytics, and that is a comprehensive business performance measurement approach. And so the idea is, to be better understanding of what's driving business success, why our sales are up or down. We could talk a little bit about comp sales versus year ago and all those dynamics, but fundamentally, the analysis is intended to measure, more than just addressable media, which is one of the kind of the pitfalls of MTA. So including addressable and non-addressable media, marketing and non-marketing factors. There's a lot of dynamics that are affecting the business. COVID is obviously one that's affecting the business in different ways, but there's a significant amount of other operational factors that we need to make sure we build into the analysis. So a big part of what we're doing is really helping to sync back with their overall business performance and to be able to understand the role that different types of marketing and non-marketing factors are driving sales. And not just sales. I think part of what was made the Carter's program successful is that we're looking at multiple KPIs. So we're looking at sales, we're looking at traffic, we're looking at different brands and products. We're looking at the impact onto new customers versus existing customers, which is a really big topic we should dig into in more detail. And online and offline factors, which has been huge during COVID, big time disruption in terms of shifting a lot more purchase behaviors online, obviously, and now how that's playing back and there's a return to store. So taking a look at a lot of different angles. And I think it's also important to note that, understanding the direct and indirect effects. So, performance metrics that we're seeing from things like last click or MTA, they can be misleading because they're not using and looking at the overall business performance. And so by understanding what drives search and making sure the analysis is built to understand those dynamics is really important, so we get a better understanding of what's driving the business. So I think it was great that Carter's came to us with these kind of big questions to go beyond, what's the role of marketing, to really have a better understanding of what's driving the business holistically.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about the new customers, Jennifer. Can you just, Mike already kind of referred to it. There's a renewed interest in driving new customer acquisition in particular. So how are you guys seeing analytics playing a role? What type of insights are you gleaning from the analytics you're getting from your partners?
Well, I think that many people are challenged when you say that you have to drive top of mind awareness or consideration, because this types of metrics, KPIs, tend to be hard to measure, especially when you are on a last click tool, when you're looking at last click week to week. And so what we really have been able to do with the MMM model is be able to understand when we have upper funnel types of tactics, like leveraging addressable TV or social media in the sense of more organic and different things of that nature, which is not so tangible on a week to week when you're looking at last click. But what the MMM model has allowed us to do is to see the impact of driving new customers of these different tactics. And then also it tells us sometimes, are we over levering in certain channels and speaking to just our existing customers and not doing the work of acquiring more new customers. So we have been able to really kind of dig in deep and understand which channels do the action that we want it to do, and then how to have the supporting channels help with driving that customer down to the purchase funnel.
How much has this been a change, like I don't want to say revolutionary change, but an incredible change from the way that you used to do business? Has it really been that much different from the past couple of years?
Yeah. Absolutely, because when I came, I've only been at Carter's for just about a year. And when I came into Carter's, a bulk of I would say 90% of our budget was in performance marketing, which means at the lower funnel. And in the lower funnel, that means you're only really talking to your existing customers. And will you get new customer halo impact where you're just garnering, but you're not being intentional about going after your customers. And that shift, we have shifted a lot of our dollars towards actually targeting, learning, and optimizing upper funnel tactics, because we know that that's the future of our business.
And Mike, how much, going back to throwing the COVID question to you, how much has the pandemic and the change in customer behavior over the past couple of years impacted your gathering, the type of data you gather and analyze?
Yeah, I mean, it's been huge. So certainly, we talked a little bit about the fact that, there's obviously a lot more online behavior and e-commerce shopping today than there was in the past. And that was certainly much higher even during the early stages of the pandemic. So, the business dynamics have changed quite a bit. From a measurement perspective, there's also significant dynamics of COVID. So COVID isn't just really one thing. There are behavior changes. There are, stay-at-home orders. There's a lot of different types of dynamics that need to be kind of unpacked within the analytics to understand the different dynamics within COVID and how that affects the business. But I think that Jennifer brought up a great point, which is around one of the biggest, I think, aha moments for Carter's was really to get a better understanding of how our different decisions and investment strategies are affecting new customer acquisition versus existing customers. And it's particularly important for their business. So by better understanding holistically how the different types of decisions that we're making are driving, repeat purchase for existing customers, and then also bringing in new customers, it helps us have a better understanding of overall business performance. And it doesn't mean that one is superior or more important than the other, but it's a balance, and we need to strike that balance to make sure that we're aggressively bringing in new customers while we're also rewarding our existing.
All right, great. And if you're just, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that that's a very great point, Mike. We are not turning our backs to our existing customer. They are the heart of who Carter's is, and that's how we've actually been able to learn who are high value customers for us and how we're able to build lookalikes and addressable audiences because of these existing customers. But we also know that the millennial mom is way different than, I'm going to age myself. I'm more in that Gen Xer, kind of upper Gen Xer category. And so our needs and the functionality of, retailers and brands were very different when I was having children. Whereas now the millennial moms and families, they want to buy brands that feel like they're a part of their life. They don't want just a brand that is looking for a purchase and then go away. So that's why these dynamics is so important, because these are kind of soft, metrics, but understanding that you need to know in order to drive the hard KPIs like purchase and be a better brand to that customer, because we actually get to know them in a different way.
And I think you could see that in that ad, in that Voices from Mom. You really just kind of reflect a lot of those insights you just shared with us.
Yeah, and just to build on that too, I think that one of the things that we've seen is that when brands are looking at performance metrics, things like last click or similar types of performance metrics, we know they're overstating the role of lower funnel conversion based types of activities, and they're undervaluing the role of upper funnel brand building activities. We've seen that time and time again from our ROI Genome work, where last click overstate or understates the role of different types of media and marketing by upwards of 10x or more. So understanding that the impact on new customer acquisition becomes really important, and being holistic and intentional with the analysis to understand the role that, for example, TV or radio or streaming video or paid social, how those are impacting our business is really important, because the last click metrics would suggest that they're not performing well. And that's really where we are able to kind of change the game a little bit to give some credit to some things that are very important for driving not only new customer acquisition, but overall sales as well.
I want to get back to that last click in a second, but just if you're just joining us, this is Ad Age Studio 30 Live. I'm John Dioso, the editor of Studio 30, and Jennifer Lee Harrison, the Vice President of Demand Generation at Carter's Inc., and Mike Menkes, Senior Vice President of Analytic Partners, are here to discuss the new realities of retail, how to adapt for the future of analytics. Before we get back to the conversation, a quick shout out to Pangil from Jakarta. Come on, we got Jakarta is joining us, guys, and Negat from London. We have an international audience because we are so international and cosmopolitan here at Ad Age Studio 30. Thank you for joining us. Let's get back to the question. So, Jennifer, you just talked about last click a little bit. Can we talk a little bit more about the disconnect between performance metrics like last click, Adobe Analytics, and what you're seeing now?
So going back to one of the original questions that you mentioned, is, what were some of the analytical tools that we were using prior to, moving to Analytic Partners to execute the MMM? What MTA was showing us is a lot of the campaign specific performance, how the roles of the different channels played into the campaigns. And what we wanted to do, the reason why we stopped with the MTA model and moved to the MMM, is that we wanted to understand better the hierarchy of the roles of the channels so that we could then say, how does the channels play in the total ecosystem to drive new customer acquisition, to drive engagement and different things like of that nature. And so what Last Click has done, as Mike mentioned, Last Click is not going to show you those dynamics that the channels play with one another. For example, when you have TV, which you typically would see if you're driving a TV campaign, you should see your search metrics go up, because what customers do is see the TV ad and then they go search your brand. And so what MMM does, it allows us to understand those dynamics of how it plays in the ecosystem. And that was super important for us. And eventually we may move back to having as a complement a MTA model. But what we want to understand right now is the holistic performance of the channels and how it drives kind of that bigger picture of our brand vision.
Mike, do you want to give a little bit more on the MMM and the advanced analytics involved?
Yeah, I think Jennifer summarized it well. I think fundamentally, when we approach our work with our clients with commercial mix analytics, it's really about understanding the business questions, and oftentimes it's those big questions around how do we plan our business, how do we optimize our business, how can we grow, and so fundamentally it's about understanding and truly really getting to the heart of what's the direct effect it has on our business performance and indirect effects and different types of KPIs. So how is our marketing and our decisioning affecting not only our sales, but our awareness, our consideration, our brand health, our traffic, online and offline. And so it really comes back to understanding a variety of different dynamics that really help us have a better understanding of both the short and the long-term decisioning that we're making. And new customer acquisition is kind of the epitome of that. Bringing in new customers today has significant long-term benefits versus, driving an additional purchase for an existing customer. And again, both are important, but I think Jennifer summarized it nicely, and just put simply, understanding what's truly driving the business requires a holistic analysis that's comprehensive.
And we have time for one last question. I want to give you both the opportunity to kind of dive a little bit deeper into, it's been, it's the end of the year. It's the end of a couple really long years, let's be honest.
Yes.
So Jennifer, why don't you go first? Where are you heading to with your analytics plan? And then Mike can follow up.
Yeah, so we started with just the MMM model for our deep dive readouts, which typically happens about most companies is around once to twice a year. But now, what this has opened up our eyes is that we want to be able to take, I would say, more slim deep dives quarterly, so that then we can better understand within each quarter, what are we doing that is driving our business? What are we doing that is serving the purpose of driving new customer acquisition? What are we doing that is driving more foot traffic into stores? How is all of the different campaigns and different actions that we're taking, how is it actually coming, how well are we performing? Because the one thing Last Click, like we mentioned, is not going to show you that. So now we're doing what is called as MM Live going into 2022, because we really want to be able to clearly communicate across the organization the impact that marketing is having with the long-term growth of growing Carter's for the next gen and so forth.
Mike?
Yeah, I think Jennifer again nailed it. I think the big thing is really to leverage analytics in more real time and right time. So what we're hearing from our clients, including Carter's, is the desire to have more speed. And so that can be done with commercial mix analytics, CMA Live. And so for many of our clients, we are consistently updating the data and the analysis to understand in real time what's driving business performance. And that's really a game changer for businesses that have relied on, click-based metrics and performance, because now we're building in that concept of incrementality on a more consistent and real-time basis. And it also allows us to create a learning agenda to test and learn throughout the year. So whether we're updating quarterly or monthly or other variations or more frequency. The idea is really to be able to execute new things, test, and quickly get an understanding of how that's impacting the business holistically, both online and offline and new, existing, et cetera. And so that's a big part of where we're headed with Carter's is more speed. We're building in things like brand health and acquisition and awareness. And it's still really important to keep also live those deeper insights. And so, for example, partner level performance that you can get from a multi-touch attribution or touch point analytics type of analysis. So, and customer segments. So, new versus existing is just kind of the basic foundation, but there's lots of opportunities to build beyond that to understand how do we drive different types of, household sizes or different types of demographics that we want to consider. So, a lot of opportunity to really learn more. And what we find with this type of work is when we deliver insights and help our clients with decisioning, there's always more questions. And so we're excited to kind of continue to expand that.
And Mike knows I always have 1,000 questions when I get to it.
We're going to do another 30 on the 1,000 questions. We'll take a little break and we'll come back.
No, but I would just say, just a quick note to that, because retailers in general typically always is looking back, because we're always comping same time last year. And this is one of the reasons why we want to get more frequent deep dives, because the last click attribution that we look at week to week, it loses all of this rich data and analysis that this MM Live is going to provide us. So we're really excited about adding this. Now, see, this is
the first time
pandemic, you meet the pets and everyone else.
All right, that's Scout, everybody. So I think that's the side. She's like, okay, let's get the clapper in. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you, everybody out there. Again, Jennifer Lee Harrison, the Vice President of Demand Generation for Carter's Inc., Mike Mankey, Senior Vice President of Analytic Partners, and Scout the cat. We made it almost an entire year without Scout interrupting one of these Studio 30s, but she finally did. Before we go, this is the penultimate Studio 30 Live of 2021. My last episode of the year. That's why she decided to disrupt everything. Studio 30 Live contributing editor Natalie Zavat will host the last episode on Monday, December 13th. On behalf of the entire Studio 30 team, thank you to everyone who joined us this past year. Stay tuned to a lot more live content in the year ahead. For NA Studio 30 Live, from John Dioso, happy holidays. See you next year. Bye, everybody.